Mistakes have been made. And unfortunately, those mistakes have all been in the last 2 to 3 years for the most part. When we talk about Magic. Not my mistakes. I don't make mistakes. I'm a god. Uro is now the most played card. The most played creature card. In 4 different formats. We don't see him in Vintage, but in Legacy, in Modern, in Historic, and in Pioneer. And the only reason he's not in the 5th one, which is Standard, is because he's banned in Standard. 4 formats, the most played creature across all of them, according to MTG Goldfish. Why? Well, that's because Uro is pushed as fuck. He is a 3 mana spell in the early game, and he is a 4 mana 6/6 with spells attached to his ETB and his attack in the late game. He gains you life, he draws you cards. He stabilizes you against aggro and he replaces himself. And later in the game, he is a genuine threat that generates card advantage. And on top of this, his flashback cost means that some removal just doesn't do anything. And then there's some removal that's laughable against him. Things like Caracas that punish legendary creatures do jack shit against Uro. Flickerwisp will make you sack him, but they get to draw another card and gain another 3 life. And if you haven't noticed, when you're playing mono white decks, letting your opponent draw cards is rough, because you're not allowed to, because you're the colour of the best removal, apparently. But it goes on. Fatal Pushes and Lightning Bolts and all these other removal spells just don't cut it. And Uro is symptomatic of a wider shift in design. We see mythics and rares that want to replace themselves and be powerful in spite of being removed, so that they ETB and create some sort of value so that you don't get a true feel bad when they get killed. Although having them countered is still allowed to feel bad, because for some reason, in spite of this transition and this push toward this sort of concept or design space, blue is allowed to still make you feel bad, as seen on Narset and Hull Breaches. The Titan Cycle was the most famous group of these. Whereas if you played a Baneslayer and got killed, you felt bad losing your mythic. For 5 mana, a Titan for 6 will give you an ETB, an enter the battlefield effect. That means that even if you kill it, even if you Swords to Plowshare it on sight, the trigger still goes off and you still get some value. So a 3 mana Sorcery Speed Growth Spiral that gains you 3 life, then goes to the yard, can escape for 4 mana and exiling 5 cards from your graveyard. And we all know that exiling cards from your graveyard is not a high enough cost to balance things. That's why we had to have Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time banned in Eternal formats. At first, people weren't sure, more so than with Oko. Oko kind of, I did the video on this before, people kind of saw Oko coming from a fucking mile off, but others were like, Uro seems good, but how good really is it? And then you played with it and you were like, fuck, it's real good. And there's a lot of these cards coming about, right? Things that you're not sure, and then you play with them for 5 minutes and you're like, okay, no, I'm 100% sure. What the fuck is this? These are mistakes. These are mistakes. And I would rather we saw Wizards of the Coast make mistakes whilst pushing the envelope than being incredibly safe and we never get anything eternally playable. And mistakes are all part of being human. We all make mistakes. We're not infallible. We're not machines, right? Mistakes can both define us. They can inform who we become. We can learn from them, and how we react to making mistakes is a good test of character in some ways, right? And I know I'm talking about a company here who designs a video game, not a card game, not an actual person, but what I'm trying to say is that mistakes are completely a natural part of any design or creation process. So I'm just trying to say that we should leave off a little bit with giving Wizards so much shit for the mistakes that they make. However, much like farting and sharting and shitting and pissing, all of these things are human. All of these things are natural. All of these things are to be encouraged in the right context. All of these things, they all demand that you take responsibility for your actions. If I were to do a filthy, dirty fart while you were eating your dinner, you'd be pissed off. If you were to shart yourself in the grocery aisle of Walmart, or Tesco or Asda or Waitrose if you're a posh toy prick, if you were to shart yourself in one of those aisles, it's up to you to either leave so the smell doesn't absolutely ruin everyone else's shopping experience, or perhaps even clean up after yourself, or get someone else, or inform someone who's responsible for clean up after, or something. You don't just shart and then leave it. You don't let it dribble down your leg, make a puddle of human excrement on the floor, and then hide it or ignore it. That's not how we resolve these issues. And with Uro now being the most played creature in 4 different formats, and we're talking by quite a margin. I'll put the figures on screen now. In Modern, he is in 23% of the decks that Goldfish has managed to mine in terms of data. Bearing in mind that Goldfish's data isn't always completely complete. I get that. But if Wizards won't give us the full data, this is the best we've got. Pioneer, 33%. Historic, 39%. And I'm guilty of this. I play Uro in the 3 and 4 color elemental decks too, because, well, why wouldn't you if he's there? Pauper is an outlier, but that's because he's not legal, because he's not a common. And then the Legacy, 22% in the Uro Snowco fucking blue soup pile nonsense. Uro is so good that he became an instant staple in Legacy, a format where every card, barring the ones that are banned, are available for you to play. Every card from throughout Magic's history, all of the design mistakes of the past, from Jit through to Griselbrand and Emrakul, if you count all 3 of those as design mistakes, they all go to live and to die, in theory. So is that where Uro should belong? Well, maybe. But if he's dominating 4 different formats, if I can't play a format without seeing an Uro, I played 7 rounds of Modern today. 3 of them had Uro on the opponent's side. It is fucking wild. And I'm not saying, like, he needs to be banned or it needs to be banned in every format. I'm not even making this video as a call for a banning because, quite frankly, I'm fucking sick of doing those kind of videos. I guess I just wanted to express my shock and alarm that Uro still goes unpunished. We are miles out from Theros Beyond Death now, so it's not like he's a face card keeping the set selling, right? Just deal with your mistake, Wizards. Do something about Uro's omnipresence across all formats of Magic. It's fucking crazy. A few other things that bug me about Uro. So we're going to rant territory now, okay? 3 CMC, the same CMC as Oko, I think is so funny. Like, the fact that we got 2 absolutely busted as fuck green-blue mythics that are getting banned across multiple formats is funny. It's not good for the game, but it is funny. And then we get this thing, like, I was playing against it today with this, the bug, Sultai, Field of the Dead, Ren and 6, oh, sorry, it's 4 colors, some of these versions, Uro, all these things together, the Mystic Sanctuary from Throne of Eldraine, all these things together, a collection of design mistakes, shall we say. And they're just over there drawing extra cards and gaining life and making like bodies off of lands and then having free counter magic thanks to force negations printing into Modern as well. And I was playing Mono Red Tron, but I thought if I was playing Death and Taxes, I couldn't do half the things you were doing. The incremental life gain attached to drawing cards, the generating of card advantage via lands. I mean, it's not color specific thing, but it's still bizarro, right? And the free counter magic that goes alongside that card advantage, the Mystic Sanctuary, like giving you card selection out of your graveyard by putting it on top of your library and then you get to draw it. I know part of the problem with Mystic Sanctuary is fetch lands, and I love me a fetch land, but it's just, it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. Modern and Legacy are both suffering because there are just these 3 and 4 color mid-range good stuff deck pile at the top of the field, and if you're not playing them, you're probably playing the wrong deck. And I guess the other thing that bugs me about that is that you do get the people in Legacy, right, who only play Brainstorm decks, and they believe if you're not playing Brainstorm, you're not playing Legacy right. They're the ones who will mock Chalice for being a brainless deck, and then when they cast their first Brainstorm or their first Legacy event in a couple of months since they last played, you can see them thinking they're fucking Sherlock from the shitty BBC show with like computer images flying past their heads. It's the counting meme from Hangover, and you're just like, Brainstorm isn't that big brain play shit that you think it is. So I guess Uro bugs me because it plays into that style of play as well, right? Just good stuff decks that hinge around blue. Once upon a time, mid-range in Modern was different to mid-range in Legacy. Mid-range in Legacy has often predominantly been blue-based because of Jace the Mind Sculptor and Force of Will and Brainstorm. The upper echelons of like the higher CMC versions of Delver, for example, airing onto the mid-range side, and then just mid-range decks with Baleful Strixes at Jace. And it used to be that Modern had Jund and The Rock, but we don't really see much of them anymore because you might as well play your Uro piles. It makes me wonder if they're gonna like avoid printing ridiculously pushed 3-mana like green-blue cards because they're aware there's now like a meme in the community that everything Simic is pushed as fuck. I wonder if we'll see an avoidance of that, like an overcorrection where we won't see one for a few years. Or maybe I'm being optimistic. I guess I just wanted to make a video highlighting this. I saw a few people tweeting about this. I think it might have been Julian Narb that tweeted it originally. about the goldfish stuff, that this was the most played card in 4 different formats. And it just bugs me. I kind of hate it. A card shouldn't be so good that it dominates 4 different formats. At least with things that are omnipresent at all times, like Brainstorm, for example. I don't feel obliged to play Brainstorm in Legacy because there are other strategies that beat Brainstorm in many ways. But when it comes to Euro, I feel like I might be obliged to play it in multiple formats. At least with Brainstorm 2, it wasn't put into Modern, so it can't be like that in Modern. It's kind of like there's one place for Brainstorm decks and there's one place where Brainstorm decks don't exist. You've got to do other things. But Euro is everywhere. It is literally not what's the word I'm looking for? Not parasitic. It's infecting all of Magic, and I hate it. I really do. And that's it. That's the end of my rant today. No, that's not the end of my rant. Let's end on the point that, like I said, mistakes are made, and I'd rather Wizards of the Coast made mistakes and then fixed them later down the line, so we got a progress. I mean, like, bans, constant bans isn't good for the game. It hurts you being able to invest into it. They're also mismanaging the game in the sense that the game pieces are getting less and less accessible again. But at the moment, those things don't really fucking matter because half the world, if not more of it, is in a global pandemic. We can't play paper anyway. So it's funny. I don't want to bang the drum of please reprint these fucking fetch lands so people can play these formats that I love for 2 reasons. One, no one's playing paper, so these formats are only on Modo now at the moment. And 2, I guess because those formats are being wrecked by the pushed power creep shit that we keep seeing from standard sets. So yeah, mistakes happen. I'd rather they had mistakes and played it safe, but they need to fix them. And I guess my final point, you'll probably think I've tried to end this video 3 times now. My final point is this. I was watching the professor's video about white removal spells and how they haven't been very good for a while. So the excuse that white can't draw cards in Commander because that's the best answers is complete, in his words, bullplop, in my words, complete bollocks. But think of it this way. They are scared to print fetch lands into Standard because they're, well, multiple reasons, but one of them that they often say is they're too good. And fetch lands are very, very good. So it might be a valid argument that they're too good. They also don't want to fix White's problem and colour identity in Commander by pushing cards through Standard because they might be too good for Standard. Meanwhile, with the things like Oko and Omnath and Earful, we're seeing them put things through Green and Blue's colour identity and in their parts of the colour pie through Standard that are too good for Standard, and then turn out to be too good for Modern and Legacy and Pioneer. Well, not by their standard. They haven't banned half the shit that I'm talking about here in those formats, but they probably should. Fuck Euro. Let's pretend it never got printed. Ban it in some formats, maybe? I don't fucking know. I've been Vince, also as PleasantKenobi on the internet. Thank you for listening to my little ramble about Euro, and I'll see you all soon. Had some gameplay come out yesterday. I don't know when this is coming out. So yesterday, got EDH and Chill the day after, got a tier list coming up, got all this beautiful goodness. My new office is set up, I'm active, it's echoey, it's empty, I need to fill it out with some stuff, but I'm back, bitches, I'm back. If you like the video, hit the like button, let me know in the comment section below what you think of Euro and the problems around Euro, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe and all that shit. Ta-ta for now.